Well, if you thought we were done, no, we haven't. You're still watching Good Morning Uganda Extra of the Extra with me, Sharon Chomdisha. Did you actually know that this week, or between the 1st to the 7th of August, happens to be the breastfeeding week? By the time it becomes a big problem or nationally recognized, then there's actually reason for it. So breastfeeding is one of the most effective ways to ensure child health and survival, and World Health Organization is in support of this, has recommended that parents, new parents or parents actually get to embrace this activity, whether it's to bond with their kids, for any other reasons. And today with me in studio is a midwife, Miss Carol Amanyebye, and Mr. Ogwok James, who is the president of Mercury Nursing Students Association, to tell us why it's important to celebrate breastfeeding, and does every parent have to do it? Plus, why are the numbers actually going lower? Because it's now everywhere. Please breastfeed your children. Please make sure you carry out this activity. Hi. Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
How are you?
You're all right.
Please introduce yourself.
Good morning, our viewers. Today, we come in to commemorate or champion the campaigns of the International Breastfeeding Week, which is always done in the first week of August, from 1st to 7th of August every year, and it's always an international campaign. It's done worldwide. I'm James Ogwok, a student leader from Mercury University, and I'm the president of Mercury University Nursing Students Association. Thank you. Hope to join you soon and shortly.
Thank you so much. I'm Carol Amanyebye, a midwife at Case Hospital, and I've been in midwifery for 20 years, a mother and an advocate of breastfeeding. Hope we shall enjoy.
Now, I actually thought, I'm not yet a mother, but I thought once you give birth, you start to breastfeed. Right? Is that what happened?
Very true.
But I also know that the issues were actually some parents or some women struggle with breast milk. So why is it important that we're actually celebrating breastfeeding? Yes, I'll start with you, Joe.
Thank you so much, Sharon.
Yes.
If you see basically breastfeeding, we find that we need to sensitize the community, or we need to create awareness, because there are some other mothers, especially the young mothers, the prime gravidas, or the mothers for the first time, they need to know the techniques of how to have their babies breastfeed well, on how they can attach the baby on the breast, because there are so many importance or values of breastfeeding if you are to involve in the mothers. So firstly, we have the advantage of, let me first start with introduction of breastfeeding. This campaign was introduced in 1994. Yes, in 1994 by the World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action. So it was introduced in 1994, and in Mercury University, we have been championing it for over the last 10 years now. So I'm not the first person to do this. It has always been a session, because we found our predecessors already doing the activity. So it's just we are pushing on with the campaign. So for the benefits of breastfeeding, it's both to the mother and to the baby. It's not only to the baby, because most people may think breastfeeding is only for the baby, but even
to feed the child.
Yes, but even mothers have some advantages.
Okay, Miss Carol.
Yeah, to add on what James has said, breastfeeding, basically, so many women have been trying to avoid it in the name of keeping shape. Like the question you had, that they don't have enough breast milk, which is just a myth.
Really?
Yeah, it is a myth.
So you can't actually be, you have breast milk?
Every woman has breast milk. It all depends upon 1 or 2, 3 things. It depends upon your feeding, the time you do attach your baby on the breast. The more you attach your baby on the breast, the more the breast milk.
Absolutely.
And another thing, the environment. If a mother is in an environment that is not conducive, then sometimes due to stress, depression, they tend to lose it. And another thing is the foods they feed on. Some foods actually may dry up your breast. But so we encourage mothers to take in lots of fluids. We encourage mothers to attach their babies on the breast frequently and on demand. We usually recommend 2 hours, but you can do it on demand. As long as your baby wants to breastfeed, you do breastfeed.
Sure.
Because breast milk is the best gift you can give to your baby. Your baby to be brilliant, to be intelligent, that baby needs your breast milk because it contains so many nutrients that will build the brain, that will build the baby's health. So instead of spending your money on formulas, you find that your baby is benefiting on breast milk. You're not going to go to the hospitals frequently just because the baby is having infections. And it is cheaper. Yeah, breast milk is cheaper and it's God-given, it's clean. It's the best gift you can give to your baby.
Actually, as 2 years old, when I got to know that some mothers not having breast milk is a myth, I actually thought it's a real issue. But like you said, because you highlighted where, and it looks like all those can be worked on, so you sort of cannot be there without breast milk.
Yeah.
Interesting. What are some of the foods that dry up breast milk, like you mentioned?
Dry up, the caffeines. If you take in lots of caffeine, you're prone to not getting breast milk. Yeah.
Interesting.
And maybe also to add on that, especially breastfeeding mothers, we don't encourage them to use other drugs.
What do you mean drugs?
Okay, I mean abusive drugs, like maybe use of marijuana or use of excessive alcohol. At times they have some effect on the breastfeeding. So, because alcohol directly affects the brain and in the process can deteriorate the production of breast milk. Yes.
So, irrespective of the advantages of breast milk, it even being the cheapest way to feed your child, that the child cannot go hungry, why do you think there's so many people? And I want to know maybe if it's now, if you have any research that says that right now we actually have more parents or more mothers that are not interested in breastfeeding. I'll start with Carol.
Sometimes they may be interested, but due to the nature of work, they find themselves not complying. And once you miss the breastfeeding period, like you miss giving your babies the baby breast milk or breastfeeding your baby, then you're prone to having decreased breast milk. The study right now is said that 40% of mothers are now breastfeeding, and we would wish to have 100%. So that's why we are coming up to advocate and talk about it, so that mothers may embrace it. So the nature of work, you find like you, Sharon, you're here, you've left the baby at home. You cannot bring your baby to breastfeed in the studio. You're here for 2 or 3 hours, and so you find that you're actually not intending to refuse breastfeeding your baby, but just the nature of work. And I think it is the poverty line. You find that mothers are unable to stay at home. They actually try to move around, looking like hawking clothes, hawking food, and they leave their babies at home. That's failing to breastfeed. So, and some mothers tend it just to keep it in shape. They don't want their breasts to go down.
Does that work? If you don't breastfeed your child?
It doesn't work, actually.
It's a disadvantage to your baby.
It's a disadvantage to your baby and to your body, you too.
Yes.
Because we actually recommend mothers to breastfeed so frequently, because it's one way of shedding off the extra weight you gained during pregnancy. So it is actually not working to those who think that they want to stay in shape. They
so
won't.
That's a myth as well?
It's a myth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Does not
it's a
talk
myth.
about.
Interesting. Any additions on that?
Yeah, First, to start with, our theme for this year is setting up for breastfeeding, educate and support. So if you are to get to know the theme of this year, then it will encourage the public and our viewers and the mothers outside there, not only mothers but even the fathers. We are directly involved in this. We can encourage our mothers or the wives to come up and support them in breastfeeding.
So you also believe it's actually an important that the husband, regardless of the mother being the one to feed the child, the husband plays a huge role as well in encouragement and support.
Absolutely. A case in point, when the baby is crying, or maybe the mother has gone to the well or gone to do some other thing, the husband can as well carry the baby and look for where the mother is, in that the baby can get breastfed on demand. In that process, then we are doing something good for the baby and the mother. Yes.
Interesting. Now, you've talked about, I think, a modern day woman right now, that things have sort of changed. While our parents might have had the time to sit home and take care of their child, right now I have 3 months off once I give birth and I have to get back to work. Otherwise, then I won't have the money to do anything. So then what's the solution for mothers that can't sort of be there and feed their children throughout the day? I'll start with you, Carol.
First and foremost, I cannot guarantee that the mother has to sit at home to breastfeed the baby. But maybe I could recommend, like you, who is here, or any other woman who is in the office, the modern mother. So I would recommend the employers to at least set some areas for them to breastfeed their babies, or if they cannot bring their babies in the workplace, they can have a place where they can do exclusive breastfeed. Expressed. They express their breast milk. You know, whenever you express your breast milk, you're encouraging your breast to refill. So you express your breast milk, and you can leave it at home with your baby. Once it is kept safely in a clean container and in a cool environment, or if you have a refrigerator, because that's why you're working, you want to have money and have refrigerators at home, so you can keep your breast milk in the fridge, in that the person that is keeping your baby at home can just get the milk and then put it in the warm water for it to warm and breastfeed the baby. It is one way of also breastfeeding your baby. Yeah, your baby may not be attached direct to the breast, but at least the baby has taken in what is necessary that is contained in the breast milk. So another thing is that we have expressing the breast milk and creating rooms for the women or women who are working in areas where they cannot bring their babies, so that they may express from there. And for those who can at least accommodate babies, they can bring in their babies, so they may breastfeed their babies immediately or on demand. Another thing, my recommendation also can be mothers to appreciate it. Once you appreciate something, you can't fail to do it. Once you have a passion for something, you can't fail to do it. But if you're not passionate over something, then you find that it is a little bit hard for you to accommodate or to work on it. So let's all mothers and fathers, like he said, adding on what he said, fathers do support breastfeeding by giving us a very conducive environment, not calling on us, not stressing us as women. So you find that you're helping us if you're in a very good environment. And another thing, you are the one that provides food. So if you give me enough food, then I can also give back to our baby. Yeah. Thank you.
Interesting. So there's also a method I've also watched on TV. I think there's a story I was watching where actually there's this woman who had, in the US, what they do is that if you can give because the children that are born and maybe the mother passes or they're abandoned and they need breast milk, so that these women who go ahead and pump and give it for free. And they make it deliberate that even after their child stops breastfeeding, for them they're still pumping for the sake of helping the other children. So pumping is one of the, is pumping expressing milk?
Yeah.
Yes, it's the same. It's the same.
Okay. And do you have to have a machine? Because some people might feel like, oh, I have to have a bottle or a certain equipment to use to pump.
No, not necessarily.
Okay, I think on that, it depends on the modernity of the country. You come like for the case of our country, Uganda, most people haven't reached to that extent because, however, His Excellency said we are now where? In which we are now in the...
First word.
No, not first.
Middle
incoming state. However, not everyone can still access all those necessary services. If you're to compare with other places like US or the UK, those machines are in place and the mothers at least, they don't have much time or they just get the machine, they put, breast milk is expressed, which is not the case with us in Uganda here. But the most good part of it is our babies are getting breast milk from the mother, which has all the nutrients, which has all the protective immunity in it, which has additional value, energizer in it. So we find that all these values in breast milk is really very good for our babies' development and growth.
Nice. Before we got on air, I asked if you're a father and you said you were.
Oh, yes.
And we've been talking about how men should be supportive. I just want to know for you how you've been supportive with your wife for healthier babies and for the fact that breast milk is a very good solution, whether it's to lose weight, like she said. I didn't even know that you can lose weight, pregnancy weight or baby weight through breastfeeding. How do you support your wife?
Yeah, okay, for the case of men like us, we have a number of ways how we can support our wives towards breastfeeding. Firstly, we have to be involved in the daily dietary programming, like maybe the diet of the day, because we saw that diet is one of the key important or one of the most important ways of producing the breast milk for the baby.
Okay.
Like you have to get involved in planning, say maybe we're going to take this type of juice during this time again, because we encourage much more fluids than the solids. So if you have to get much more fluids, say you're going to take a natural passion fruit 3 times a day, you can blend it and keep it in the refrigerator. Anytime the wife wants to take, you put it there, she takes. You can say, I'm getting you maybe Minute Maid, those fluids or the drinks, they help a lot. And then we also don't only stop on that, we encourage other meals like the vitamins, the grains. In other words, we expect or we embrace a balanced diet basically. Because a balanced diet, we give proper nutrition to the mother and the mother will in turn give it back to the baby. Yes. Secondly, we don't need to stress these mothers. Sight is very, very important. Once the mother is stressed up, the breast milk production will decrease swiftly. So we need to just put them in the mood, you know, do things that pleases them, not to annoy them, because their emotional state.
What if they're the ones annoying?
You know. If they're the ones annoying, you know, okay. Just move on. Just
for the sake of a healthy baby.
For the sake of a healthy baby.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we've talked about breastfeeding, the advantages and other ways. My mom, she passed on, but she used to tell us first she would breastfeed for 3 years. So we would actually go to school and come back and breastfeed. I have a little sister who would go to school and she would come back and breastfeed. She would kill me if she had this. But for how long am I supposed to breastfeed if I am a mother? You know, how long is too long, or how long is healthy long, or how long is no, you need to sort of keep breastfeeding?
Okay. Actually, if you don't know the beginning, then you don't know the ending. So first and foremost, we should know when to initiate our baby on the breast milk. On the breast, we initiate our babies immediately after birth.
The first 1 hour.
In the first 1 hour. Actually, we usually say for normal deliveries, we give 30 minutes, and then cesarean section mothers 1 hour. You shouldn't exceed 1 hour. For some reasons, one of the reasons is that when the baby is out of the uterus, the baby is still having those cues. Once you put the baby on skin to skin on the abdomen of the mother, direct on the skin of the baby and the mom, and you leave the baby there, that baby tends to look for the breast by the instincts.
Wow.
Yeah, the baby looks for the breast and then attaches itself on the breast. What the mother is supposed to be doing is just help the baby get well fixed on the breast. So once you have started the breastfeeding in the first 1 hour, that will give you, one, your baby will get the necessary nutrients at that time and the necessary amount at that time. Because when the baby sleeps after, when you let the baby sleep before breastfeeding, those babies tend to be lazy. So
Lazy in terms of what?
like they tend to be, for you to initiate them on the breast tends to become difficult for you, Madam Leia. And if you had done it earlier, then you wouldn't have suffered the consequences. But if you do delay, of course you have to suffer the consequences. So for how long? Let me go back to your question. We usually recommend 2 years. But if your mother could do that 3 years, I think it is also okay.
Super good.
Only,
good.
only if your mother was HIV positive, there we recommend only and strictly 1 year. Beyond 1 year, you're exposing your baby because your baby is capable of, the baby can bite the breast, the baby could have put something and something injured the tongue. So we usually recommend 2 years for those mothers who are not HIV positive and 1 year for mothers who are HIV positive.
So what, if the baby, will go to the HIV positive parent now, mother, if the baby has been breastfeeding for over a year, what's going to change within 2 years? Because the recommendation is 1 year strictly. What's then going to change in 2 years that that couldn't have happened for them to get sick in 1 year?
Okay.
Maybe to chip in a little bit, with the new research that has come up with HIV and so forth, some other new methodologies or new versions have emerged where currently it recommends for HIV positive exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months. However, those days it used to be 1 year, but apparently we breastfeed for 6 good months. Then after that, we can start looking for additional values as additional foods, because the longer we put these babies on breast milk, the higher we are risking them of contracting HIV.
How are you risking them? Because I'm thinking, okay, 6 months, they've been breastfeeding.
Yes.
6 months,
Yes.
or 1 year, like she said initially, before the
Yes.
research that you're talking about.
True.
But what is going to happen after I start breastfeeding for another year that you could, how come you couldn't contract in 1 year?
For after 6 months, we greatly know that this child is developing and growing so fast. Teeth are erupting, you know that? But for these first 6 months, the child has been breastfeeding, but at the same time being put on some antiviral medication syrups, okay, which suppresses the virus, and the mother is also, we also encourage the mother to keep on taking the ARVs. So after 6 months, the teeth get erupted, and there's also high chance of maybe this kid starting to bite the teeth, and the bleeding can come in, and maybe the gum can also have some laceration. So the mix of the two can easily expose the baby to HIV as the longer they go. So that's why who came up and CDC that at least recommend for 6 good months, of exclusive breastfeeding.
Okay. So we're exclusive breastfeeding. What's that?
Exclusive breastfeeding, this is when a baby is fed on the mom's breast and no other thing is put in the mouth except medication. You just feed your baby strictly on the breast milk. And it is recommended for 6 good months. You shouldn't allow your baby even give water. You know these myth things that your baby is supposed to be getting some water, that the baby gets thirsty, those things. The baby doesn't get thirsty. The baby is okay and well quenched with the breast milk for 6 months. Mothers who are listening to me, breastfeed your babies exclusively. Don't give anything to your baby. Don't have any excuse that your baby should have something, like you do mixed feeding. Even if you're working, I told you do express breast milk. Leave your breast milk at home for the caretaker to give to your baby until you come back and again give those bottles you expressed from home, from the work. So don't allow your baby to drink or eat anything before 6 months. It's not only in HIV patients, even mothers who are not HIV positive. For HIV patients, we actually usually recommend you to bring the babies when the baby is 4 weeks, between 4 weeks and 6 weeks. But the best timing would be 4 weeks.
Sure.
That's 1.5 months. You bring your baby for the first PCR. Once your baby is found negative, then you're told to leave the developing part of it, and you're given Septrin depending on the weight of the baby. If the baby is above 5 kgs, you're given 2 tablets once a day, every day. And then if your baby is below 5 kilograms, then you're given 1 tablet to take every day. But the most important thing here is, do not do mixed feeding to your baby, more especially when you're HIV positive, because the how do you call this membrane? The mucosa?
The membrane lining?
Yeah, of the mouth is usually weak for the baby. So your baby can be given something hot and it is burned, it burns the baby. So we usually recommend exclusive breastfeeding, and after that you can do mixed breastfeeding. Why? Because the baby's body intake needs extra nutrients which you may not provide in the breast. So we encourage you to do some mixed feeding. You bring in some feeds, not solid, liquid feeds, porridge, milk. Yes, at 6 months. Then for HIV, we said we stop at 1 year. That's the new recommendation. Why? Because like he said it all. I may not reply.
Respond, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You talked about mixed feeding. Mixed feeding is when you're mixing breast milk with any other food.
Sure. Yeah, even a chogger is mixed feeding. Once you put your baby in a chogger, you're doing mixed feeding. Why? They have this tendency of getting these small herbs and squeeze in the baby's mouth. They usually do it, which is not good. You're doing mixed feeding. And if you found me in the clinic and I asked you whether you're putting your baby in this herbs,
a bath of herbs,
then I just write on mixed breastfeeding, because you cannot avoid it. The baby is crying. Sometimes that water can splash into the babies. They actually do it intentionally. They just get the herbs and squeeze in the baby's mouth. Then you're doing mixed feeding.
And what are the issues involved with? You are a mother.
Yes.
Did you get them to shower in that?
As for me, I didn't do it. Because the briefs and the meetings they're having towards them, that they bring blessings, what, I don't believe in them. I believe that blessings come from God. As for me, that's what I believe. So even in our culture, we don't do it, right? Am I deceiving?
Yeah, no,
right.
we don't do it. Okay, so that's mixed feeding as well.
Yeah.
But then, isn't that the same as a child being showered or bathed and bathed, and then the water also splashes? Would that also be mixed feeding?
Usually, when you're bathing your baby with soapy water, you're always careful. You don't want that soapy water to splash into the baby's mouth. But with this, they intend it. They bring the herbs and squeeze the mouth, they squeeze the head, and then press some herbs. They intend it. They do that is mixed feeding. Yes.
Okay. Anything else to add on to that?
Yeah, maybe I can give like a case scenario. I should say it. For the first 6 months, breastfeeding plain, not giving any other extra additional food. But I happened to be somewhere one day, and then I saw a colleague had gone somewhere and then left her baby with the maid. So then the baby started crying. I think she had spent like more than 2 hours. This baby starts crying. After that, this the babysitter gets the baby out. The baby just like 2-3 months only. I think even 2 is more. Gets the baby out, makes some little water, I think stirs with some sugar, starts giving. When I saw, give the first time, the second time with a spoon, I asked, hey, madam, what are you doing? I'm giving baby some water. I said, no, that's not allowed. The baby has to only take breast milk for the first 6 months. Then after that, you cannot get involved in other additional meals like maybe milk, porridge. However, when we are initiating after 6 months, we also ensure fluidish meals. Can give the baby soup, can give the baby milk. Those fluidish meals, as my colleague said. Yes, basically that.
Okay. Is there any, is it a might it be a myth that actually some kids just don't like breast milk?
Breast milk, really?
Where a parent is saying, no, actually, you know, they're refusing, so I'll give them formula or something.
It is not a myth. It is a fact. Yes, it is a fact, and it is usually caused by the mother. Why? First and foremost, you didn't initiate your baby in the first 1 hour. Secondly, you introduced those formulas to the baby, so the baby can differentiate the taste of the formula and the breast milk.
Does that mean that formula tastes better than
Yes,
breast milk?
it is sweet. It is usually sweetened, of course, with lactose, so many things to attract babies, because they are making money also. So the baby can differentiate the taste. Your milk is not as tasty as the formula, thus making the baby to refuse your breast. Your water breast, salty. Yeah, the baby has to refuse and take the other thing that is sweet, which is also bad, like we said. So don't introduce your baby to those formulas before 6 months, because they are also human beings. They can taste and differentiate the tastes. They can know this is sweet, this is not sweet. That's refusing your. In any case, the baby has to put in more effort to get that breast milk from your breast. And for the bottle, it's actually like pouring. Doesn't put enough, like too much effort. That's also like if the baby is also good at being lazy like you are, if you who refuse to initiate the baby, then the baby will opt for the other thing that just flows, not this one that she or he has to put more effort. Yes.
Interesting. So then, okay, is there also a thing as having too much breast milk? And what I've seen someone actually who delivered. Now they do not, and I understand like you're talking about fluids and all, and they weren't an eater or a person who drinks a lot. So what they would eat or drink, no, what they would actually drink most times was black tea. But she had a lot of breast milk that at some point she went to the hospital because her breast had to find another place to push out breast milk. I do not understand how that worked. And they had to tell her she was going to go through a surgery. It never really happened because it healed itself. But she had too much breast milk. How come some do and others apart from the ones that are lazy and the ones who feel like I have to maintain my body, what causes that? Is it genes? What is that?
Actually, that one is based on the hormones. Yeah, we are having 3 hormones, actually 4. Estrogen, progesterone, and oxytocin and prolactin.
Okay.
So when a mother is having too much of prolactin in the body, that makes her to produce even unnecessary excess breast milk. Prolactin is supposed to be in action once the baby puts the mouth on the nipple. So if you find that the mother is having a lot of prolactin that is not regulated by the system, then the mother excretes too much of the breast milk, which is not even necessary for the baby. Usually what we usually do, we usually give them drugs that can bring down the prolactin level.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that those who don't have enough breast milk don't have prolactin. They do have. But as for them, theirs has to be excited by the baby attaching itself on the breast.
You have to do a little bit of more work.
Yes.
Okay.
Attachment.
So if you find that your baby is not attached, then your breast will keep on drying and reducing. Like we said earlier, the more you breastfeed your baby, the more breast milk you will get.
Will come.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to the advantages of breastfeeding, is there? I understand, the nutrition, the nutrients for the child, and all these things. What about when it comes to bonding with the child?
For the cases of bonding with the child, that's why we encourage, as Mr. Carol said previously, we encourage the mothers to breastfeed their babies in the first 1 hour of delivery. So in that case, you'll be encouraging, first of all, the baby getting attached to the mother's abdomen. Warmth is the first. When they're still in the intrauterine life, the environment is very conducive. And once they get out, they find totally a real hell. So they find coldness, this and that. So they really feel the place is so disgusting for them. So bonding or putting them on the abdomen becomes one of the good importances or promoting that bonding or by giving warmth. And then secondly, that breastfeeding. Because intrauterine life, they have not been breastfeeding. Food has just been, they have been given everything in a silver plate. So here, putting them on the breast, it encourages them that, hey, there's no more food outside here. You have to look for it. So they start doing their own activities, working hard, circling. So in the so doing, they get to know that there is food here. So I don't need to live here. So in that case, you're also promoting bonding. Yes.
Ms. Carol, anything? Given that you even are mothers, with experience.
It's beautiful to have your baby in your hands, breastfeeding the baby. Just the mere eye contact, there's so many signals it sends in your mind. Like I said, babies are also human beings. They know that this one that gives me milk, like he said, is caring, is loving. So they tend to find that one person that is caring and loving to them. That's being bonded to each other. Like I told you, it's beautiful, it's the best gift, and the baby can actually recognize the gift the mom is giving. They are human beings. They're not like dolls. They can differentiate someone who loves them and who doesn't love them. So your love is felt from the hands to the chest, and then to your mind and your eyes as you look at your baby. That's bonding.
Amazing. Do you have the same relation? Do you think that has sort of helped you bond with your children?
Yes, it has. There is one baby who I didn't breastfeed for long. My dear, I've struggled to bring that baby back to me.
Oh.
She's always in her own world. She's never near me. And there are those who I breastfed longer. Those ones are always, even if I cough, they say, sorry, mommy. Even if I laugh, they say, sorry, mommy. Because we are
And the other
bonded.
one, and what does the other one
The
do?
other one is always in her own world.
No, don't care.
She has no time for
No
me.
care attitude.
I have to call her, Destiny, come. And then that's when she comes, but she's always not there for me. So I have that experience.
How old is Destiny now?
Destiny is now 8 years.
Hey, we can't breastfeed her anymore.
And we can't. But I've tried. Even if she's the most child I give big gifts, so that I may bring her towards me.
That's
But
true.
it's too late. So if you don't breastfeed, you will actually suffer like I'm suffering, my dear moms. I would love to have Destiny with me, like other kids.
Yeah.
But because I didn't give her time when I was breastfeeding, the space was little.
Okay.
And worst, she's followed by a boy who I loved to have, who I longed to have. So all the time, all the love was taken. In the first stages, so she also now said, okay, I'm just here just by chance, but I'm not supposed to be here. But let me be here. So I think I'll have even hard time with her in teenager. But the good thing is that I'm a medic and I've realized it earlier, and I'm trying to bring her towards me. Yeah.
Mothers out
So I
there.
wouldn't wish a mother to suffer like
Yeah,
that.
mothers, please breastfeed your children. You don't want Destiny's situation
We
with
should
Miss
create
Carol.
the bonding early now.
Yes,
Otherwise,
yes.
things will get out of hand.
Yeah. Does it also mean that actually non-breastfeeding might affect the development and growth of the baby?
Very much.
Absolutely, that's true.
Yeah. And what exactly happens when you don't breastfeed in regards to the development of the brain and yes. Ojo?
Yes, it's okay. As we saw earlier on, we find that breastfeeding has all the components that the child needs for his or her proper growth. There's some other genetical materials that the baby can get through breastfeeding. The nutrients, they also helps in the development of the brain and the rest of the body, because you can't only develop the body when the brain is not developing. All those things go hand in hand. If the nutrients is being given, it's all supplied to all the body parts, and the body prioritizes it, by the way. It starts with the brain, those key areas, like there you see government having its own organ bodies. We have the parliament, we have maybe the other important ministries around. So that's how the body also prioritizes the provision of those nutrients. The brain has to get, the heart has to get, the liver has to get, the lungs. So you find it at the end of it all, those body parts that do not require much more need or nutrients are given less or little, but the ones which need much more are given the first priority. Yes. So at the end of it all, once our babies are well fed, you find them having very good developmental states. And research has proven that babies who are breastfed for long, they're always very intelligent.
Very smart.
Very
true.
smart and cute.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's very true.
They're very smart compared to those who are breastfed for a lesser period of time.
So it's sort of actually malnutrition when you sort of do not breastfeed your child. Almost, it's like you're depriving them of certain things.
Of the nutrients that they're supposed to get, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Carey, you have something to say?
I don't know what he said. Breast milk, as we said earlier, contains lots of nutrients. We have ADH, and that ADH helps on the brain development. We actually prepare mothers during antenatal, and we encourage them, we talk to them about breastfeeding, and we tell them on what to feed on, particularly for the brain development, the foods that contain ADH. Those are nuts, yes, so, and oranges. So you find that, like he said, when we are calculating intelligence, babies that are breastfed tend to get enough of those nutrients. And once you deprive, like he said, you'll get some funny creatures in the society. Yes, you will not get ladies like the mom that was fed for 3 years.
Yes.
Yeah, you will not get her. You'll find people who are always timid just because their brain didn't develop well, and can't reason well just because they didn't breastfeed well. Yeah, so as for me, I'm going to emphasize that all mothers out there should breastfeed their babies so that your baby can also be smart, can reason well in the society.
He's active.
Yeah, very active.
Social.
Social.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe, sorry, time is not on our side, but the last remarks, given that we're celebrating, we're in the, 1st to 7th is about breastfeeding, and we want to encourage mothers, first-time mothers or consistent mothers, to breastfeed. So any last remarks?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sharon. In our viewers over there, especially the young mothers or the first-time mothers, I always encourage them to seek for any help or any knowledge from the nearest health facilities that is around them. Or if that's a little bit hard, you can reach out to any medical personnel who is close or near to you. I try to inquire much more about the breastfeeding, the values, its importances, because all these, when we merge them or when we sum them up together, it's all for the benefit of the baby and the mother. And then also to our partners, NGOs and government and other stakeholders, we at least encourage them and emphasize they should come over and help in the support of these campaigns. Because we know there are so many organizations that can really step in and we steward this campaign and make the community much more aware of it. Because when we saw the values of breastfeeding when somebody does not really breastfeed. Because the more we breastfeed, we get much more values. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Book. Yes, Ms. Carol, lastly.
Dear viewers out there, like I started, I say that the best gift you can give to your baby is breast milk, and exclusive breastfeeding is paramount. And maybe I will not like go on his side right now. Let me just specify on HIV mothers, because they really need to know. Most of them may not know how things are done and which is bad. Mothers out there who are HIV positive, you can have a negative baby, right? When you go to your antenatal, when you start your antenatal at the right time, your gyne or your midwife will help you on how to prevent transmission of HIV to your baby in the uterus, when the baby is still inside. And during delivery, midwives know what to do. Make sure that you deliver from the healthy facility. Now we are already having our baby. Make sure that you go to the clinic when your baby is 1.5 months. That is 4 weeks. 6 weeks. So that we may help you on what to do and do the PCR, right? Take the baby. If the baby is negative, we shall tell you what to do. And if the baby is positive, it's also okay. We shall tell you what to do. But don't stay out there.
Just wondering. So for the positive mother and positive child, for them she's allowed to breastfeed her child?
Yeah, because we have no prevention now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please go ahead with
yes. So mothers, make sure that you take your babies to the art clinics. Don't shy away. Don't be stigmatized. And to the mothers, all mothers, please make sure that your baby is not deprived the best gift you can reward her or him in life. Thank you so much.
Well, that was Miss Carol Amanyevye, and she's a midwife for over 20 years. Advice from an expert. So please breastfeed your child. Don't think of, I have gotten to learn that breastfeeding helps mothers shed off the baby weight, at least in the process. You have a healthy baby, one that is active and a beautiful one at that. So I guess the advantages outweigh the disadvantages of breastfeeding. And because we're in a month where we're celebrating between the 1st to the 7th, we're celebrating breastfeeding. Please breastfeed when you can. Eat the foods that help you get the breast milk. Make it easier for your child to be a healthy baby while you're also bonding with your child. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Sharon Chomdisha. I was with Miss Carol Amanyebye, a midwife, and also Mr. Ogwok James, President of Mercury Nurses Students Association. Have a lovely sorry, it's still actually morning. Have a lovely morning and God bless. Bye-bye.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala.